in studio, and I got a new toy. I got a little quacker duck, but the tragedy of it all is my little quacker had a little duck that sat on that little thing. And I don't know if Zoe got to it somehow. I thought I had it with me, and I came back on the table today, and the little duck was missing. So I don't know if the duck just, made an escape or it got kidnapped. My guess is it got kidnapped. Hopefully it didn't get killed. Zoe might have killed it, though. She's killed other little critters, so that might have been the case. But I don't know where you get these, but I had a lady named Patty give me this on the last cruise. And again, it's so cool. She said they only cost about $2. I don't know where you get them, but I just kept hitting my little quacker thing. Yeah, so I like my little quacker. So there we go. So we're going to talk about the Carnival Celebration Key and my thoughts on that. And I know I touched on that the first live I did where the Wi-Fi didn't go completely to crap. And then we're also going to talk about the Horizon today. The Horizon probably is my favorite ship if I can get into the Havana area. If you can get on a Vista class ship, we're talking about the Carnival Vista, the Carnival Horizon, the Carnival Panorama. It is worth, in my opinion, very much so, to book the Havana area. And this is what I was telling somebody while I was on the Horizon itself. Because a lot of people love balconies. They're like, oh, I got to have a window. I get all that. You need sunlight, and some people use their balconies. If you're one of the people that, you get up and you're just excited, you're just doing stuff all over the ship, or you're getting off the ship and getting to port and enjoying your port time and everything, you don't really spend a lot of time in your room or going out on your balcony a lot. And again, some of you all do, and that's great. Oftentimes when I have balconies, I rarely use them. And so, for example, I'm booked on the Horizon, I think June of next year, and I have an interior because it's cheaper, obviously. And I just don't feel like I'm in the room enough. So cost-wise, the Havana is a significant upgrade, in terms of cost. But for those of you that buy balconies and stuff, what I'm telling people is, instead of getting a balcony Havana, those are really nice, don't get me wrong, but instead of getting that, why don't you get an interior to spend about the same money that you would on a regular balcony? You can get into the Havana area by purchasing an interior and just enjoy the Havana area to try it out for once and say like, okay, yeah, this is so worth it. I think it is. But yeah, let me say hi to everybody, and we'll get more talking about the Horizon and Celebration Key. Who were the gold medal winners? We had JT Travel Adventures, 1 gold today. And then Cruising Chris Moss gets the silver, and then they're working too. They're getting work done and open house and stuff like that, and still managed to get on the podium. So that's pretty good. We had Frankie getting on the podium to get that bronze medal. He is only 90 days away until Celebration Key. Let's see who else we got here. 64 Kenny P says hello to everybody. What's going on, Kenny? Adventures with Uncle Dave, and I mentioned this the first live I went to, and if some of you all saw my cruise day on the first cruise of the Carnival Horizon, you got to see Adventures with Uncle Dave in that video for a little bit. So yeah, Christina Feynman, and that was a super fun day, by the way, is checking in on Facebook. What's going on? We got CLTV Michelle. And she says, little quacker, what? Yikes, hopefully it did not get eaten. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of thinking it did, because when I quacked it, Zoe kind of had her ears back like, yeah, I might have killed your duck. Sorry about that. Am Dolan is here and says, hi, Coach. What's going on, Am Dolan? Mike Clark's back in the house, is saying hi to everybody. We got Charlene back here once again saying, hey, and what's up? What's up, Charlene? Dawson Glenn, who I met on the Carnival Magic, is a big Cubs fan as well. So, yeah, the Cubs been struggling a little bit. CLTV Michelle's on their way to dinner, so won't be able to watch the live. What are my thoughts on Carnival's big news releasing tomorrow? I don't know. I mean, some people are saying it's just going to be regards to the new ship and stuff like that, and new ports and that kind of thing. But if it is, I did see one of the VIFP Facebook pages. They think it could be something related to VIFP. Maybe they're finally getting enough heat and enough people are leaving. People have been leaving in droves, or a lot of people are lying. I mean, those videos that I put out, and I put out about 4 or 5 of them, basically ripping Carnival because, you're being disloyal to your cruisers, and then you're saying the stuff isn't sustainable. That's a bunch of crap. I mean, every business does this. They figure out what percentage of their customer base, can they service in a particular area or with a perk or an amenity. And they say, okay, well, we can sustain, up to 8% of our customer population or 10% or whatever it may be. And then, so in order to keep sustaining those perks that they're talking about that they are unsustainable, all they have to do is figure out, okay, what do we anticipate our customer growth being in the next, say, 10 years? And let's put the days of loyalty at a high enough thing where, we're only giving onboard VIFP or VIP boarding to this percentage, and you're able to maintain that percentage for, another decade or whatever you did last time, right? But with new people and expanding the days. So it's a lie when they say it's not sustainable, because it very much is. And there I go again. I'm getting upset. Kakins is back. Says, hey, coach, going on celebration on Sunday. Very cool. Klesko 71. When are you headed out on the horizon next June? Oh, you know what? Message me that on Coach Crew's Facebook, Klesko, and I will look the exact date up for you. It's probably going to be the 3rd or 4th week of June, because I know, like, my school as a high school teacher or whatever, I'm pretty sure I don't get out until the second, the earliest it would be the weekend ending the 2nd week of June. So like mid-June, but I think it's more like that 3rd week of June, somewhere in there. So hopefully that's lines up with when you're going. We got Fred Brown here. Says, hey, coach, great to be here and great to have you here. Dawson talking about the Cubs. Yeah, they've been struggling a wee bit. We got to get back rolling again, falling behind. Mike Clark's going on the Vista this Sunday and Celebration Key on Monday. Hopefully Hurricane Aaron turns to the right. Yeah, you don't want any hurricanes. That'll put a little damper on Celebration Key real quick. It rained on us in Celebration Key, but we got to enjoy most of the day. So I think we're caught up, and we got Liz and Chris from Carnival Cruise Addicts checking in, and they were just at Celebration Key. They put out a video like myself, kind of, walkabout and identifying some of the highlights. And let's, jump right into that. And you know what? Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Oh, yeah, here we go. We got Cruising Chris Moss, and I didn't even talk about this. I was going through all the comments, but Cruising Chris Moss have to start right, since you couldn't go live last week. Welcome back, Coach, and Zoe. Zoe, come here. You got treats here from Mr. Chris Moss, and big high five for Chris. What do you say? Say it louder. Okay. And we will give you a quack too. Can't see my little duck. Yeah, so thank you. And we got to do the whistle pig. We got to get Andrew and Yoli's 100 proof that I only do one of, because I got to be somewhat normal here, right? Although my tolerance is up pretty high. So Chris, thank you so much for that. And it gives me a chance to remind everybody. Let me write down. And Chris just happened to be the previous super chatter. So you are admin Tim is 1 through 7. Now Chris is going to be 8 through 37 because of that latest super chat. And we upped these super chats to 150. If you did not join the last time I was in studio, the reason we've upped it to 150 is because we got this giant cooler bag, and Greg and Michelle from Cruise Life TV, they won this. It's even got a little bottle opener on the side, which came in handy because when we were on the boat, nobody had a bottle opener, and lo and behold, this thing had a little. But look how big it is. I mean, they could probably hold a case of beer and still be able to get ice and stuff in there. And it's got a little pocket on the front and all this other stuff. And it's very, very thick, very good quality, you know. So I think it'll hold up a long time. So yeah, I'm very excited about these. But you know, they cost a lot more than a t-shirt to make, and you know, more to ship and everything else. So that's why I upped the thing to 150. Now, for anybody that says wins these, let's say Cruise Life TV were to do a super chat today and they would win, they could choose not to get this, and they could choose to get a shirt, and then they would also get $50 or not 50, but 50 super chat drawings in the next drawing. So if somebody wanted to, in theory, they could say, okay, you know what? I want the shirt, and then I want 50, you know, drawings for the next thing. And you'd essentially have a 1 in 3 chance, because you'd get the first 50. You'd have a 1 in 3 chance of winning a bag and a shirt for as little as a $1 super chat. You could win a bag and a shirt that way. So yeah, that would be cool. All right. And I think I just saw another one pop up on the screen. I got to scroll down. We got admin Mike, Facebook admin Mike up there. And we got Charlene celebrating being a member for 2 months. And she says, treats for Zoe. Absolutely. And we got Frankie, the Emerald Coast Cruiser, with a $5 super sticker. Let me get Frankie down on here. So he is 38 through 42. Thank you for that, Frankie. Much appreciated. And then Mike's looking forward to this update. We got Am Dolan. Oh, you changed your name. Okay. I thought that was you, Ann, but I didn't want. I thought, well, maybe there's another, you know. But yeah, okay. So you got a different name. So we got Ann back in the house, and love you too, Ann. Thank you so much for that. That is very sweet, making my night here. So you are 43 through 62. 43 through 62, and we're almost halfway to that next drawing. We got Mandy, and thank you for that, Mandy. I appreciate that. Adventures with Uncle Dave says that's a nice big bag too. Yeah, Adventures with Uncle Dave was on the boat. Again, if you go to the Coach Cruise Day Carnival Horizon, you actually get to see Adventures with Uncle Dave. You get to see Greg from Cruise Life TV. Michelle was on the boat too. You see a couple little clips of her. Unfortunately, you know, just when I was filming everything, she didn't go off into the wild party scene with us, and that's where I did most of my video. So you don't see too much of Michelle, but you do see her if you look. And then let's see. Carnival Cruise X YouTube is messing with us and using YouTube handles instead of channel names. Oh, okay. I got you. And then we got Charlene. Oh, love this a cooler bag. I need one for my trip to Celebration Key. A shop for you and a treat for Zoe. Okay. Yeah. And you know what? We had Frankie and then you combine in here. Let me, and then we had Ann. So I got to do 2 here. We got to do 2. So let me get Charlene on here as well. So Charlene, you are 63 through 72. We had Frankie 38 through 42 and 43 through 62. Charlene 63 through 72. And I think I'm caught up. Patty Cakes is in the house. Okay, good to see you, Patty. And Will G. Will G is here. All right. So I had opened up my mint julep Old Forester here. So we're going to get into this again and knock this bottle down a little bit. I still have some other blends up here, but this first one, let's see, the tag team of Frankie and Charlene, and then we're going to get Anne's right after. And Zoe, come here. So here we go. And a big quack to both of you. Cheers. All right. So Frankie and Charlene, high five for them. What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? There you go. Good, thank you. All right. And then Anne Dolan. And Anne has hosted her own bar crawls. I had an idea. I don't know how many, because actually this is more like in line with Anne. I was wondering if, because a lot of you say, oh, you want to go on the bar crawls, this and that. Actually, you know what? I changed my mind. I just changed my mind right now, because Carnival is being kind of, whatever with the whole bar crawl thing now. And they're not making it as easy as it once was, or offering as much help. The first bar crawl on the Carnival horizon, I was stressed because they basically said, oh, we can't help you at the bar crawl. And I'm like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, Carnival, like Carnival's taking a lot of the fun away. A lot of people have been complaining about, they took Quest away, they took this away, you can't do this, you can't do that, and bar crawls are just another one of those things, that they're like not allowing people to do, which doesn't make sense to me, because you still want the fun on a cruise, right? And I get the part about, okay, you're worried about people drinking in excess and things like that. Well, the great thing about having senior bartenders following along on the bar crawl, not only is it going to make everything go smooth, and as I explained to the beverage manager, it obviously helps our group, which keeps them happy, because then all the drinks are coming out right away. It goes smooth, everything. But then imagine, and this was what happened at the first bar we went to, that we traveled to. There was one bartender there, and there was like 30 of us just walked in. And then when I organize it, I always have a suggested drink. And when I have a senior bartender or two, they go forward and they start making all those drinks. And then when you get there, it's just boom, 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 boom. You hand all the drinks out, everything goes nice and smooth, and everybody's happy and everybody has their drink. And then we move on to the next thing. And then if there's people already in the bar, guess what? They're not inconvenienced, because the drinks are done. They're taken care of, everything else like that. When you don't have any help, then obviously what happens is it gets all jammed up. So I did have a suggested drink, and I thought I was going to have a senior bartender, but when we got there, there's like nobody there except one guy. And then he's like, well, what do you guys want to drink? And then I had told people the suggested drink, but of course, there's always going to be a few people that are like, well, I want this and I want that. And so he's taking different orders. And then before he even starts to make the drinks, he swipes every single card, to get those little receipts for people to sign. That's another thing that you can do away with if, you have some help from Carnival. You can get all that done at the end of the thing, and it saves so much time. So I was like getting stressed, and I'm like, can you call like the beverage manager and tell him, you need help or whatever? Ultimately, by the fourth bar, we got some help. And then of course, it went smooth, but that's just how it should have been from the start. Like, I don't understand why Carnival has to be so stubborn when it benefits their customer, when it makes the experience better for their customer. And then not only that, but who better to make sure that you don't get out of control than having somebody monitor the bar crawl. And these senior bartenders have been great about making sure everybody gets water breaks in between some of these bar stops. And, they're passing out bottles of water and say, hey, make sure you're drinking your water, everything else. If that was unregulated and people were just ordering shots or whatever else like that, you could get in a lot more trouble. So it's a little frustrating, but this is from Anne. What do you say to Anne? She says, thank you. And Anne, I have your shot right here. she's like, okay, stop talking. Give me give me my treat. And thank you for my treat, Ann. All right, so let's see. Those are a little smoother than the 100. Carl Hamilton is back. And Carl just did a $2 super chat. 73 and 74. Your numbers are, Carl, and Carl has already won. Dawson, Dawson was on one of my more recent bar crawls. This is my original shirt right here, and this is in different colors. Okay. This is honestly, if you were a big follower of the channel, I would suggest this shirt just because, like, I feel like if you go to a bar or something or just around town, like, this is more of a shirt you can wear about anywhere. Whereas the party squad shirt, I feel that's more like just for cruises. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I kind of like the old school shirt. I do. I mean, a lot of people really like those new ones. If I had to pick between the two, I like the old ones. Now, this one in yellow wasn't one of the most desired colors, so I don't have any. Well, I got a couple yellows. I got a yellow in small, and I got a yellow in medium, and I got a yellow in 2X, a couple yellows in 2X. But outside of that, that's all the ones I have left in yellow. Yeah, Ann says security as follows, but not bad outcomes. Sandy, the Lost Pirate Jenkins is just here and saying hi to everybody. Yoli is here. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a good start to your week. Welcome back home, Coach and Zoe. Thank you. Yeah, and Sunday I got home and I drove all the way to Peoria, which for me is in traffic about 4 hours out of Chicago, and then turned around and drove back. And I got back late, well, actually early Monday morning. And then I just wanted to be home for one day because today was my first full day of work. And then we were supposed to have practice, but thunderstorms and stuff and rain led us to have to end practice super early. So, yeah. David Walters is in the house saying, what's happening, Coach? What's going on, David? And then Sandy says, that is the reason we originally joined, I think in reference to the shirts there. So again, you know, for those people just joining, we're giving away the cooler bag, and we are halfway now. So hopefully we will give away another bag today. We are up to 74. And again, once we hit 150, then we will give that bag away. And if you don't want the bag, again, you don't have to get the bag. You can choose, like I said, if somebody's already won a bag, which right now is Cruise Life TV, they're the only winners. But you can opt to pick a shirt and then get also another 50 entries into the next drawing, the first 50 of 150. And, you know, you can take a chance on rolling the dice and winning 2 for 1. So you can do that. All right. Now, Celebration Key. Several people have mentioned they're going to be going to Celebration Key soon. So let me tell you my feelings. So Celebration Key was been hyped for forever, right? And people were just looking for updates and wanting to know what, you know, how good it was going to be. Was it going to be as good as all the hype and everything? The hype versus actual, I'm going to give that a 9 out of 10. Okay. From what I expected because of all the hype, I would say they reached a score of 9 out of 10 as far as the hype meeting the actual, you know, what you got to see, because I was so impressed with a few things. Seating, for example. Now, there were 2 ships in port for us, Horizon and Elation. Now, the Elation is a smaller ship. Horizon is one of their bigger ships, not the XL class, but one of their bigger ships. And I'm telling you, the seating looked like a restaurant that was 1/3 full. I mean, there was so much open seating that were just open seats all over the place. Now, I will say this, the oceanfront seating, most of those seats were taken. So they could probably put some more chairs out there in the oceanfront seating. Most of those seats were taken, and that is a very pretty backdrop. If you decide to sit along the oceanfront, you're looking at the ships and stuff like that. And it's very Grand Turkish For those of you that have been to Grand Turk, you have that beautiful crystal clear blue water right in front of you, and the ship is like right there. The ship isn't quite that close to as it is in Grand Turk, but it's pretty close. And they're building another dock right now to the point where they'll at one time be able to host 4 ships. Now, I'm guessing when they can host 4 ships, that all those seats will be pretty much filled. But in the meantime, I think it could easily accommodate 3 ships and still everybody can get seats. And the seats won't cost you anything. Now, one of the things that they do is they sell all these cabanas and things like that, and they're pricey. I made the point on one of the recent cruises. We went to this beach, and we got a day bed for it reclined and everything, and it was wooden and had a big pillow thing that you could sit on and everything. It was $30 for the day, $30 for the day in Curacao. Right. And I'm just like, this is great. And I was just thinking to myself, you know what, if we had like this same exact type of thing on Celebration Key, they'd be asking like $400 or $500 for it. And I'm just like, that is so overpriced. That being said, we did have friends, and we chipped in. I gave them some money too, and we had a big group, but they got one of these cabanas, and it comes with some soft drinks and things like that. But I think that even discounted, it was like over $500. And, I mean, I'm a teacher, so I have a teacher salary, so I can't splurge like that. I got to pick and choose. I guess I choose to lose my money in the casino. I don't know which you could say is dumb or dumber, but yeah, that's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I can get free chairs, a couple rows back, for nothing, or I could spend $500 and get the big VIP cabana and everything else like that. So it's nice. It's nice, like I say, when you have friends and you can just give them some money and contribute, or if you all put in a little bit of money, get that little nicer experience. But I don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze, at least for somebody that's on a budget, especially when there's so much free seating. So again, I think the seating there was fabulous. So if you're going to Celebration Key, I don't think you need to spend money to upgrade your seating, unless you just have that money to burn. I mean, some of you do, and God bless you for that. Great. If you want to make it an extra special experience, spend that extra money. But I don't honestly feel like you need to, and I feel like you could still have a good experience and still get some good seating close to the pool. Now, when I say pool, I think it's what they call their lagoon. And I'm going to tell you, the water accessibility on Celebration Key is not a 10 out of 10. It's an 11 out of 10. It's better than 100%. That lagoon is freaking amazing. Okay, it looks like a pool, but they call it a lagoon, I guess, because they pump salt water in it. But the water is crystal clear. And when you walk through the pool, let's say it's about 3 feet deep, most places, maybe 4 feet deep. So the floor itself feels almost kind of like rubberized, and soft, but you would get steps in. Like if you walked from one end of that lagoon to the other, I'm curious how long it would be. It must be like at least half a mile long from one end to the other. That's how long. It's massive. It's the biggest kind of like pool type structure that I've ever seen, and that includes Vegas and all of that. A body of water that big that can accommodate that many people is just amazing. So yeah, that was probably the most impressive thing. Food. Okay, I'm giving the Celebration Key food situation a 7 out of 10. Reason being is because they don't give you unlimited food. They give you a lunch option, and you get to choose basically a variety of different sandwiches and fries. And I don't think they give you a drink. Do they give you a drink? No, I don't think they do. I don't believe they give you a drink. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't give you a drink. And they give you like a cookie, a fries, and say a sandwich. And I mean, if you eat breakfast in the morning and you go there, you can get yourself a lunch and you'll be relatively satisfied. But then anything beyond that, you're going to be paying money for. So that's the reason I didn't give them a higher score on that, is because, I feel like, they're trying to pay off that island faster than they probably need to. And then the drinks, okay, I gave them a 6 out of 10 there, and that might have been generous. Reason being is because Pearl Cove. Pearl Cove is the adult only area. And check this out. To go to Pearl Cove, if you just want to go there, okay, and get in it, accessibility, $100 a pop, $100 a person to get in that little separate area, and it has its own pool. And you might be like, okay, it's adults only. I'd rather go there. Now, they also have, for only an extra $39 or $40 more, you can get a 10 drinks included option. And you might think to yourself, well, duh, of course I'm going to get that. It's only going to be, $4 a drink. If I drink all 10, it's only going to average out to $4 a drink. That's a good value. Of course, coach. Why wouldn't I do that? I'm going to tell you why you wouldn't do that. When I asked them, I'm like, if I have the Cheers package and I go to Pearl Cove and I buy this drinks included thing for, it comes with 10 drinks. Well, if I'm staying there all day, and I'm in the pool enjoying myself and going to the water and everything else, I'm probably going to drink close to my 10 drinks if you're there the whole day, which might be 8 hours or whatever. All right. And I asked, does this count against my Cheers package? And I asked 2 different employees at that Pearl Cove, and both of them said yes. So you paid, I think it's $82 or $84 for the day to have the Cheers package, to get yourself up to 15 drinks with alcohol on the ship, right? And then you would be paying again another $140 to get this 10 drinks on Celebration Key. So what's that add up to? That ends up $220, like $225. Okay. It would cost you $225 to have entry to Pearl Cove. Okay. And if you used your 10 drinks in that Pearl Cove, and then you would only have 5 drinks left, and let's say you use those 5 drinks, it would end up costing you $225 for that one day. On, between the combination of what your Cheers package costs and then you purchasing, it's like they're getting money on top of money, right? You've already paid for the Cheers. So I feel like if you go to Pearl Cove and you have the Cheers package, if they want to count the 10 drinks against you, you could make the argument like, okay, well, yeah, that's their thing. They should be able to count that as your part of your 15, but you can't charge me twice for it then. That's just my thinking, like I've already paid for those drinks. So you don't get to charge me twice. You don't get to charge me an extra $40. You can charge me the $100 to get in there, but you can't charge me an extra $40 when I've already paid for it. To me, that's just super annoying and frustrating. And yeah, that kind of is upsetting. So anybody that's got caught up with that. Now, I will say this, if you bring a credit card, and you don't go to that Pearl Cove thing, then you can buy your drinks. Or you could go to Pearl Cove and just pay the $100, but then buy your drinks with a credit card, and it wouldn't count against your 15. So Ben, look at Ben here. Ben loves to tell me when the Cubs are doing bad. The only time I get messages from Ben is when the Brewers are doing good and the Cubs are getting beat. So Ben's providing me the score, the proud Brewers fan that he is, with the Cubs are getting beat 4-0. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Ben. That's okay. We'll come back and win. It's all good. Let's see. Carl, I think this is a new one. Let me double check here. I think, yep, it sure is. Carl got another $2 super sticker in. So let me write you down. So you are now 73 through 76, Carl. And let me go through and see if there's any other comments or anybody else joined us. I think Carl was the last one. We got Marjorie here. The quacking duck is hilarious. Yeah, and I'm just disappointed that Zoe probably ate my little quacking duck. So this is a that's not the duck that's supposed to be on there. The duck actually fit on there, but um, let's see. And I don't know what you're talking about, and varies on every ship. Probably talking to somebody else. Oh, you're a security has followed us, but no bad outcomes. Yeah, it's never a bad outcome because we do the bar crawls usually in the afternoon when nobody's had any drinks. And it's very rare that anybody and everybody's happy and we're all together and having a good time. Um, oh yeah, Yoli had said that. Okay, so I know that's where. So he's cute. Yep, I've said that comment. Mandy's in the house. Michelle B., the Ship Wanderer, is going on the Sunshine September 30th, going to Celebration Key. I'm excited to check it out. Yeah, Celebration Key, like I say, overall, I mean, the hype, it's a beautiful, they did it so well. They really did. Charlene, I rented a Cabana Calypso Laguna Dole area for my trip there in November. It was $500 before I cashed in some gift cards. And yeah, if you're going the first time and you really, like I say, it's your money. You guys do whatever you want with it. And um, Michael says, I booked the day bed on Calypso Beach for my birthday. It cost $90 with onboard credit. Yeah. And again, if you want to make it an extra experience. Oh, and then, yeah, of course, we got to be let known that Milwaukee is 1-2-0 too. Shirium, I'm sorry, Sherry Umel, 6919 is saying good evening. We got Mark R. Booze back in the house saying happy Tuesday. Michelle can't stay long, but long enough to make the cabana worth my money. Yeah, and again, it was worth. Well, I want to say it was very nice. For me, I'm just going to go do so much that I'm not going to be in the cabana as much to enjoy the cabana or whatever it is I'm paying for, but it's however you utilize it. As I said earlier at the beginning of the show, those people that like balconies, some of you that like balconies actually use your balconies. Like you go out there a lot, you enjoy the sunsets and the sunrises, and you have your coffee out there, or you have a couple beverages out there, and you sit together or whatever, and you just really utilize your balcony in a great way. And for people that do that, I'm like, hey, and again, I like to get balconies, even though I don't use them as much as I should for the cost difference or whatever. So the reason I had mentioned that was because we were talking about the Havana area, and I was saying to people that normally spend the extra money on a balcony, for about that same money, you could get a Havana interior. And to me, to have access to that Havana area on a Vista class ship, I'm not talking about the XL class ship, but a Vista class ship, the Vista, the Horizon, or the Panorama, it would be worth it to downgrade yourself from a balcony to an interior if that interior gave you access to the Havana area. So that's just how I would probably prefer to spend my money. I'm going to take a sip of my drink here. All right. And I believe Michael's birthday is in April, right, Michael? So, yeah, I think that is the case there. All right. So I talked about drinks. Now, entertainment on Celebration Key. I think they did a great job of including like basketball courts and pickleball courts. And what else do they have? They had a couple other activities that you could do that the kids were using them. The kids were playing basketball. Volleyball. They had a nice couple volleyball courts set up. So on the outskirts of Celebration Key, there were all these, game activities that you could do and play for free, right? And I thought that was really good. Now, another one of the things that they're charging for is the water slide thing. Okay. And the water slide is, just those couple of slides. They only have 2 slides, and there was only 2 ships. And I got to tell you, the lines were long. and we did have a couple in our group, Rod and Vicky's son and his friend. They went up and down the water slides, and they only had time to go on one. And they had heard that from the other people that the other one was just so, and they went on the better of the two. But they said it took them over 20 minutes to get up to do the slide. Now 20 minutes, you might say, well, that's not that long a time, and I guess it's not that long. But if you're paying money to just go ride on the rides or ride on the slide, and it's going to take you, and keep in mind that was just with two ships there, and one of those ships was very small, and you're having to wait over 20 minutes. What happens when they're going to have, like, say, 2XL class ships in port? Then that line's probably going to be 30 to 40 minutes long just to ride on the slide one time, and they're charging, I think, $15 per person to ride these slides. So that part is a negative. But if you're just going to enjoy the water, again, the lagoon, and you have the access to the ocean, and there's plenty of free seating, and some of this free seating, you're in the front row as well. Obviously the front row seating areas are going to be taken first, but if you get off the ship early enough, you can get some premier seating. And even if you don't get premier seating, you're probably just going to be going to the water anyway, so it's not too big of a deal. So yeah, I would say, the entertainment overall would be more in line with, and I'm just talking about activities and games that are free. I would say you could go in the 7 to 8 out of 10 range. It's good, but the water slides, they need to have more water slides to make that. If you're going to charge for that, then you need to make that more worth it. Now, there was a lot of to do about the water noodles. So these water noodles, the ones I'm talking about, are like this big, and you can find them at the dollar store for like, $1 or $2. And I think a lot of people had in their mind that $20 was for something like that. The water noodles, in actuality, those suckers were about this thick. Okay. So they were like massive water noodles. And let me tell you, nobody was renting them. Nobody. And that's even after they lowered the price down to $10. So, I think Carnival really overestimated how much people would care about these things. And if they thought they were, doing everybody a solid by lowering them to $10, they're going to have to lower it down to $5, because I did not see a single person using one of those water noodles. And they were like the Mercedes of water noodles. Like I said, they were like this thick. I just saw one guy sitting there bored as all get out with a big stack of water noodles. And then his only job apparently was to rent out water noodles, and not a soul was renting a single water noodle. So he was getting paid. Carnival was losing money to pay this guy, because he wasn't, there to do anything but sit. All right. So I talked about the hype versus actual, the seating, the food, the drinks, the slides, the water accessibility. Overall value of Celebration Key, I'm giving that an 8 out of 10, because you can go on Celebration Key and you can probably have a really good day and not spend a dime. By not spending a dime, you're not going to get any of the premier seating, but there's so much free seating that includes umbrellas for free, that it's not like you're going to be in the sun all day because you didn't spend money on an umbrella. You can get an umbrella for free, right? As far as swimming goes, you have your choice of the ocean, looking at the ships and crystal clear water. And there is seating there, not as much seating. And again, that seating was pretty filled up, and that was with only 2 ships. So they're either going to have to add seating facing the ships there in the ocean, or more people are going to have to go into the lagoon area. And I think Carnival wants people to go into the lagoon area because that's where all the bars are. That's where they sell additional food at and things like that. So I think that's why they have less seating facing the ocean, is because they don't want people further away from where they can spend money, and there's nothing really to spend money on out or spend money on when you're by the ocean. You would actually have to walk back into the Celebration Key area to spend money. And I mean, there's bars within a short walking distance and things like that, but not as close as if you were at that lagoon. So yeah, I'm going to say, overall 8 out of 10. And Celebration Key is beautiful. So those of you that have plans to go there, you're really, really going to enjoy that. And yeah, just have a good time with that. Cruising Chris Moss says, I hope the water noodle guy wasn't working on commission. Yeah, if he was working on commission. And then we got Ashley Gabardine in the house. She says, I enjoyed the balcony, referring to the Havana area. And yeah, the Havana area is great. It's just really great. I mean, the biggest thing about the Havana area, and Michelle says, nope, not paying $100 to get in there regarding Pearl Cove. Yeah, I mean, again, the rest of that you don't need. Okay, so here's a good example. And she just said, Michelle just said, I'm not paying $100 to get in there. The Havana area, you're spending more money for the pool, not just the pool, but when you go to the Havana pool, and this was the busiest, this last cruise I was on with, the busiest I've ever seen Havana. There were regularly at least 12 people in the Havana pool throughout the cruise. Like everybody was taking advantage of it. Now, if you go up to the Tides pool or the main pool, it would be packed. And there was a couple times we went up there, the first of the two cruises. I mean, there would be 40 people in the pool. It would just be absurd. And then it's like, okay, let's get back down to the Havana and enjoy that. And we'd get down there, there'd be 8-10 people, and we would just be loving life, right? Because you could actually get in the pool and enjoy yourself without, little kids kicking you in the face and, 40 other people, elbowing you and stuff like that for a little bit of corner space or whatever. You had plenty of room to stretch out. And it was just so that's what you're getting, that pool experience. But for Celebration Key, that lagoon area is so big. You don't need, you're not going to be crowded. I mean, that's like a Havana type pool experience. It's plenty big enough for even 3 ships to be in there, and you could go in there and you wouldn't feel like, oh my God, there's so many people. There were a lot of people in that lagoon and that pool, whatever you want to call it. And it was still sparsely, populated. And there were a lot of people. Like if you actually counted the number of people, I'm sure it would have been in the hundreds if you went through and counted every one. But it didn't look crowded at all. That's how big that pool area is. So, if people are getting into Pearl Cove, like, oh, I just want to be there. Okay, maybe it's because it's adults only. But again, the Celebration Key was so spread out. And then one side is catered more to adults. So there weren't hardly any kids over there anyway. So yeah, I don't feel like you need to do Pearl Cove. I mean, it's going to be an upgrade. It's going to be, a little nicer because it's just adults, and it's probably going to obviously be a little more secluded and not as many people. But again, I guess, like I say, if you want to spend your extra money on it, it's your experience. You do what you want. I just personally don't feel like you need to get a much better experience. I don't think it's going to upgrade your experience that much better, but to each their own. Like I said, everybody's, and you could be like, hey, you know what? We did it and it was amazing. And we had done the free version before, and this, that $100 is so much better. And you may very well may think that. And so, you try them out. I'm interested to see, the first of you that actually say do Pearl Cove, and then the next time you do the regular thing, and then come back and say like, oh yeah, it's totally worth $100 extra per person, and why it's worth the extra 100 per person. Or if you do them both and say, yeah, I don't know if it's really worth 100 because, we went to the adult side of the free area and we had a good time and it wasn't crowded and this and that. So curious about that. All right. So let's get through here. Oh yeah, Charlene. Yeah, that is true. When you do rent a cabana, you get some wristbands. I don't know how many wristbands. I think you get four. You might get four wristbands. I know both of the kids had wristbands on, and I don't know if they gave two or if they gave four or whatever. But the kids were the only ones that used them. So that is true in regards to if you rent a cabana. Carl says, how covenant would it be to return the ship and eat and then return? Um, yeah, you could do that, Carl. It's not crazy long. I mean, it's not a crazy long walk, but it's a decent walk. I mean, that's a really long pier. It's very Cozumel-ish long type of pier, not quite as long as Cozumel, but in that same general range. So, I mean, if you were to leave Celebration Key to go back on the ship to get something to eat and then come back, I'm guessing that round trip is going to take you at least an hour. Maybe not quite an hour because there would probably be no lines for food when you got on. So you could probably do that. So if you were with a group, let's say there were 6 people in your group and 2 or 3 said, hey, we're going to head back. And the other 3 just stayed there. And then when those 3 got back, the other 3 went and got something to eat. You can just kind of hold down your seats and that kind of thing. I think you could do that. But again, it's going to be, you're going to get your steps in that day for sure because it's not a super short walk. So good question on there. Michelle says she wants to try the Cove balcony. It looks super cool. Yeah, I've done a Cove balcony and I really like it. I really like it because you're close to the water and it gives you that feeling and you really hear that water and that water sound is very soothing. It's kind of like hearing the wake constantly. So yeah, I would agree with you. And Sandy's saying the same thing. We'll look into the Cove balcony. Venture's Uncle Dave will be in CK next month. The Paradise and Elation there that day, 2 smaller ships. Yeah, you're going to have all the space in the world. We got Rick Wade, the Texas Cruiser, back in the house. What's going on, Rick? And yeah, they're changing all your names up. I don't understand what's going on. They're like not giving you your normal names, although Adventures with Uncle Dave seems to have his normal name. And then Rick says, Dave, I have a lot of information about Port of Galveston expansion. We'll talk about it in tomorrow's show. Okay, cool. All right. So did I get caught up? Yes, I did. All right. So, wow, this show is going fast. Before I forget, let me go through all the people that did super chats or super chats or super stickers. That's what I meant to say. So we got Admin Tim, Chris Moss, Frankie Floyd, Ann Dolan, Charlene, and Carl have all done super chats or super stickers. We got about 10 minutes left here, so I want to make sure I mentioned all of you. And earlier, and let me just try to pull it up here because people ask me, and I remembered here, if you could go on and hit that like button, I would very much appreciate it. And a couple of you have, messaged in the past saying, I can't find the link to join if you want to join as a member. Now that I'm back home and I'm not going out on a cruise until Thanksgiving, I am going to be sending the members their member gifts. And I'm actually looking forward to doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to make a list of all the members and a couple people, because they had won shirts or whatever, I went ahead and sent theirs. Like I think JB got his, and I believe Mandy, if you're still on here, let me know if you got your gift. I thought I sent yours along at the same time. And then, like I said, there's probably 30 more of you that I'm going to go through and just have one big shipping day and just spend a whole day filling out and packaging these things and sending it off. So we got Rick Wade. It's been a while since I donated to the Pub Crawl Fund. Well, thank you, sir. The Texas Cruiser. We're going to go ahead and put you down, and you are 77 through 81. And I'm going to take a drink for that. Roderick Hawkins says, Coach Cruise, great content for Celebration Key. We're there in December. Cruising Chris Moss, 129 days until my ABC cruise on the horizon. And that's what we just did, was the ABC Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. And I got to tell you, DV Beach and Aruba, Bonaire, we did Klein Beach and some amazing snorkeling. And then Curacao, oh my God, we lucked out so bad. We were looking to do this beach, Casa Boa, and I had seen the reviews, and it was beautiful beach, beautiful pictures, everything else. I'm like, I want to go see this. I've done Mambo Beach a few times, and I'm like, Mambo Beach is okay. It's fine. You know, you can have a good time, everything. You know, it's close to port. It's convenient. It's only $8 to get there, but I want to do something different, right? So I want to do this Casa Boa. So you go to the taxi stand, and it's like, okay, how much is it going to cost to get to Casa Boa and back? $140. I'm like, really? $140 just to go to the beach? And so sitting there trying to wait for more people so it'll lessen the price, and nobody else is coming really. So it's like, okay. So I'm like, are there any other really nice beaches that are closer that it won't cost that much money to get to? And so one of the taxi people said, Kokomo, like the Beach Boy song, a little place like Kokomo, you'll get there faster. And I posted on the Facebook some pictures, the Coach Cruise Facebook. If you didn't see it, it'll be back on there. And Chris, I will obviously be editing film for the next few weeks. I have the Carnival Venezia, the final days of the Carnival Venezia. I have that. It's been uploading since Sunday. I don't know if it's because of 4K or what, but that is the longest ever any video has taken. And I don't even know if it's going to be ready by tomorrow. Like, it's at 70% uploaded now. And I kid you not, when I was on the plane before I took off from Fort Lauderdale to head back to Chicago on Sunday, I had started uploading it. And it's been that long uploading, and it's still not uploaded. As a matter of fact, I'm curious been that long to see if, let's just see here, view channel. I just want to see how far along it is. It's at 64%. I lied. I said 70%. It just turned to 65%. Okay. So it's still got, see the little blue box. It has that much more to go before it finishes uploading, and then I can release it to everybody. And now I see my Wi-Fi is going to crap, but I got one. It had been good all day. I still got to change this Wi-Fi. That's another thing I got to do. Michelle B says Horizon is a great ship, but needs glass elevators. Yeah, that would be nice. Okay. Yeah. So speaking of Horizon, we'll talk about the ship. I give Horizon 9 out of 10. It's a more modernized design. The LCD columns are very nice. The Havana is 11 out of 10. I mean, everybody that stays in Havana, and I met some people there that had done the Havana for the first time. And then my friends that had been on the week before, and, they were like, well, Coach, you just ruined it for us now. Like, we have to get this all the time now. Like, they had such a good experience there. They're like, you spoiled us for this. Like, now we won't be able to book anything else but this when we come on a Vista class ship. And I agree. It's like when you've experienced that and you go on the Horizon or the Vista and you're just like, oh, damn, I didn't get into Havana this time. You just know what that experience is like. So it's going to be kind of a letdown, especially if you want to enjoy the pool and things like that. If you're not a pool person, but I know people that book cruises, right? And they never go in the pool because, it's just so crowded, and it's, they don't want kids kicking them in the face and everything else like that. I get that. And I've had that same experience. Like, I've gone to the pool with the intention of getting in and everything, and there's like 40 people, and I'm just like, no, I'm not doing this, right? But you go to Havana, and like I say, it's crowded if there's 12 people in there, and then like most of the people are cool. I'd say almost all the people are cool. I haven't had a bad experience where anybody was like a jerk or anything like that at any time I've stayed in Havana. So yeah, that's good. Live music, I'm going to give 8 out of 10. And it's not because the live music was bad. It's just because I've heard other, you know, combinations of live music on there in the past being better. And, you know, I've come off a couple cruises where I had Lady in the Vamps and this cruise that I was just on. I forget the names of them, something Pebbles, they're a newer band or whatever, but they were very good. And you know, yeah, it's just by comparison to some other live music, you know, throughout the ship, I've just seen a little bit better, but it's still very good. So you know, and that's just for right now. Obviously, those things change over time. The food I'm going to say is 8 out of 10. It wasn't like amazing most days, but it was still good. Embarkation out of Miami is very good. Yeah, they have it down. Like they're just on it. I mean, the lines can be a little bit, you know, once you get through the security, you know, where you scan your bags or whatever. Once you get through there, it goes quick. Like you're on the ship. Most times, getting on the ship from the time you arrive to the time you're actually on the ship, if you're there at your particular boarding time, it seems to take less than a half an hour. Now, I have priority boarding, but even with that, like I felt like the lines in the regular boarding didn't seem to be taking that long or be that backed up. It's going to be a little bit more time, but really good. Now, debarkation, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I did carry my bags off. If you need to get off that ship right away, you know, you could carry your bags off. I see OT is checking in, Orlandis Thomas. He just was on the Carnival Panorama and did that whole, you know, Mexican cruise area there. And he said that was a 10 out of 10 on the Carnival Panorama. So, and we were just on the Carnival Magic the beginning of July. So if you're wondering who OT is, and let's see, ports. Okay, so the ports, I did 6 ports on the Carnival Horizon. We're talking about Celebration Key, Montego Bay, and that was one where I just thought, like, maybe I'll just stay on here because those of you that have been to Jamaica, you know how pushy vendors can be if you get off the ship. Well, went to Dr. Cave's Beach, and Dr. Cave's Beach is close to port. You can get a cab there. I think it's like $8 to get in, and then it's going to cost you another $30 or so if you rent a couple chairs and an umbrella. But the water was much prettier than I remember it being. I had been there one time previous, and it was really pretty. The water felt great. You know, they have bathrooms, everything else like that. So that ended up being a really good port. And then what was the other one? Montego. Oh, Grand Cayman. Oh my God. I forgot just how beautiful 7 Mile Beach is. It was amazing. Just how long, you know, how far back from the shore, you know, that crystal clear blue water, and then just for so far down, just amazing. Just amazing, the Grand Cayman. And then obviously we did, you know, the ABCs, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. And Curacao ended up being maybe my favorite port. And Curaçao's never been one of my top favorites, but because of Kokomo Beach and finding that little gem of a find, and you know, if you get there early enough, you can get like a day bed for $30 for the whole day. That was a really great thing. So let's see. Cruising Chris Moss. This is for sharing the video of uninvited Alanis Morissette. Oh, very cool. I shared that quite a while ago. And you know what? I did go. That was another one of the highlights. We went to Celestial Strings, and I said, look, we got to get here early. So we got here early, and we got front row. And I have some amazing footage where the performers are just literally in my face. Like one young lady that's a performer actually even got in my face, you know, like she's going to come up to the camera, like her whole face fills up the camera. That's how close she was with being in the front row and just having everybody. So if I forget whether they played that Morissette, but they probably did because they usually play the same songs. But Chris Moss, you are 82 through 96. So we are only 54 away from giving away. And you know what? I'm going to go we got a little Four Roses here, and I might top it off with a little Whistle Pig because I don't think we're going to be able to fill up a whole shot. Okay, so that, yeah, we're going to have to add a little bit to that, but we finished the Four Roses. All right, and let's throw a little 100 proof to finish this off, since it was a last minute super chat. Appreciate that so much. Cruising Chris Moss coming through in the clutch. So Zoe, you want another treat? I think you do. So I'm going to take my treat first because she wasn't ready. But look, hey, there you go, Zoe. But thank you, sir. And get some quacks for that. And a big high five from Zoe. High five for Chris. What do you say to him? She says, thank you. And let me go through and see if we got any. Rick's got to love a jagged pill himself. See if we got any other questions. Again, we had OT checking in. Adventures with Uncle Dave. Last time I cruised out of Miami from Cardelito was about 15 minutes, very smooth. Yeah, they got it down in Miami. I mean, that is the cruising capital of the world. They got it down. Alanis Morissette. A lot of people are Alanis Morissette fans. Jagged Little Pill saw her in concert when she was first touring Lover. Yeah, she had some great tunes. I mean, one of the greatest albums, I mean, in terms of sales and stuff, was that album. And yeah, definitely. Rick Wade says, I have a fresh bottle of Buffalo Trace that I'm drinking tonight. And you know what? I do have some Buffalo Trace. And since I just finished this Four Roses, I'm going to have to bring that bottle out. I still have Mom's bourbon here. And I'm going to have Andrew and Yoli's bottle. But you see, we're making a dent. We've been doing just one shot, sometimes two shots. And we're making a little dent in the Whistle Pig 100 proof. So yeah, a little bit by little bit. All right. So we are like almost 7 minutes over. And again, super chats, we're up to 96. So we only need 54. So I'm almost certain we'll hit that next week and give away another bag, our second bag. Or if you want, again, you can roll the dice and take a shirt and then take another 50 entries into the next drawing and maybe win the bag and the shirt for just one winning ticket or whatever. So I think that's about it. So we covered, again, the Celebration Key. We talked about, hype versus actuality, seating, food, drinks, the slides and other entertainment, water accessibility, or the water features and stuff themselves were amazing. Overall value, I said 8 out of 10. You could even argue it could be a little bit higher than that. You do get a free meal. It's just not a buffet. The Horizon, again, arguably my favorite ship, probably is my favorite ship. I gave it overall a 9 out of 10. The Havana area is like an 11 out of 10 for me. Decor, I think, is very nice, contemporary. I mean, you could say 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Live music is 8 out of 10. But again, that's going to vary, contract to contract by the musicians and just, the musicians that you really like. The food, I'd give it 8 out of 10. It wasn't amazing, but, it was solid. It was pretty good. Embarkation, debarkation, really good. The ports were amazing. The 6 ports I went to, every port had a great time. Cruise director, I did not mention. I interviewed George Cross. He's a friend of Louis Claire's, and I will have that interview coming out in hopefully less than a week. But I had a really good interview with George Cross. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. But he's a really good cruise director. I think those of you that may have cruised with him, or if you are going to be going on a cruise with him. And I have breaking news. I don't know. Oh, my God. You know what? There's only 25 of you on here. But because you stayed, I'm going to give you this breaking news. He shared in the interview with me, and he has not shared this on his public media, as far as I know, unless he just did since I did the interview. He shared in the interview that, and he told me, he said, I haven't shared this with anybody. He is going to be the resident cruise director of the Carnival Panorama starting January 2026. So January 2026, George will have his own ship. and he will be guiding the Carnival Panorama. So that's Carnival obviously thinks a great deal of him. And I'll tell you this, I did not even plan on interviewing George. I had worked with Tyler Meehan before, and the Horizon is like his resident ship. And he obviously was just going on vacation as I was starting on that cruise. And I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, this George guy. He's probably just average or whatever. And then I got on the ship and I'm like, man, this guy is really good. I need to try to get an interview with him. So on the second week, since I was on there back to back, I'm like, you know what? I gotta call corporate and try to get an interview set up. So I did. I contacted corporate, the media, and everything else like that. Got my questions together, got everything approved. And on the second to last day, day 13 out of 14, I did that interview with the cruise director, George, and really good interview. And it was a lot of fun. So that's all I got for you. We are 11 minutes over. That's okay. It's fun to be back. It's fun to actually, go live without being not able to go live like it was on the Horizon that second time. So thank you everybody again for all the comments, for all the super chats, for all the support, for being here. And hope to see you all back again next week. And if you haven't already hit the like button, please do on your way out. And if there's anybody that's watching that hasn't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button as well. All right, everybody, take care. Peace. We'll see you next week. As Kindle Fire